Most people seem to think that latex inner tubes can't be repaired and simply throw them away. Well, stop. Don't do that. They can be repaired. I'm going to show you how. Why? Well, latex inner tubes are the best bang for your buck upgrade that you can make to the performance of your bike, but they typically cost 3 times the price of a normal butyl tube. So don't let that money go to waste. Let's repair them. Right, if you like these kinds of videos and find them useful, then I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe, because I've looked at the stats, right, and I can see that most of you watching this don't currently subscribe. And if you did, well, it'd be a big help. We'd be able to improve the quality of what we do so that, well, you get better videos and, well, continue to enjoy them for free. So thanks for that. Now, latex inner tubes. We've banged on about them many times before, and I maintain they are the best bang for buck upgrade that you can make on your bike, and that's because you typically see a saving of around 3 to 5 watts in rolling resistance per tyre, which is huge. You know, that's often a bigger increase in performance compared with a 1,500-pound carbon wheel set and a 700-pound carbon wheel set. It's big. There's a bit of a weight saving too, so these weigh 85 grams each compared to 120 grams for the equivalent butyl tube. So yeah, that's not too shabby if you're trying to save weight. But there are also a couple of disadvantages, and that mainly stems around the fact that they're more fragile than a butyl tube. So you have to be more careful when installing them. This is because of the fragility, but also because they're more supple. So they often get caught underneath the tyre bead as you're installing them. You have to check before you inflate the tyre that it's not caught under the bead, or it can tear the latex tube and cause a catastrophic blowout. Now, if your tube has suffered a catastrophic blowout and it'll have like a big tear along it, it will go bang and it will just be torn. Then at that point, that tube cannot be repaired. And that's the same for a butyl tube. It can happen to them too. If your tube has just torn and shredded because it's gone bang, you have to just chuck it in the bin. But you can use it to make spare patches for your other latex tubes. But if your tube has a standard little hole in it, a nick, or even a pinch puncture in it, it can be repaired. So let's show you how. So the first thing you're gonna need is patches. Now you have 2 options. The first one is to take an old latex tube, ideally one that's damaged and as shredded as it's burst and can't be repaired, and then use some scissors to cut some patches out of that you can then use to patch other latex tubes. You can also use standard puncture repair kit patches such as this. Now these work, but I find that bits of latex from old latex tubes work better. And the reason for that is because the latex has the same elasticity as the tube, and so therefore inflates and stretches at the same amount, whereas these patches don't stretch to the same degree. So it means that you can almost, a bit like a balloon that a magician uses at a kid's party, you get kind of like pinch points in it where the patch is, and it doesn't inflate as evenly around. And while you're cutting up a latex tube, another hack is to cut sections like this, because they enable you to attach sensors and other things to your bike in a way that smooths them over, makes them nice and aero, my favorite thing, but also gives them a bit of weather protection, water protection. It's something we routinely see pro mechanics do when they're attaching transponders to the fork legs of pro bikes. Now, when attaching a repair patch onto a butyl tube, the instructions often suggest that you use a little bit of sandpaper to rough up the surface of where you're going to attach the patch. And this helps promote adhesion of the glue and the patch by sort of increasing the surface area. Now, in the case of latex tubes, I've found that this is not necessary, and I'd also suggest against doing it because latex tubes are, as we've mentioned, that bit more fragile, and you could potentially damage the latex tube further by roughing it up. So I find that I've been able to get patches to stick fine without doing this, so I'd suggest don't rough them up. Sometimes it can be difficult to find the hole, so to identify that, the easiest way is to just use some soapy water and just pass the tube through it, and then you'll see where the bubbles come out. With the whole location identified, something you can do to promote adhesion of the patch is to decontaminate that area by putting a little bit of alcohol on it and then wiping it off. It dries off really quickly. I'm just going to spray a little bit on now. That's enough. and then wipe that area clean. With the hole identified and decontaminated in that area, it's a good idea to just mark it with a pen. It just makes life easier and you know exactly where it is every time. It's so easy to lose it and then spend ages having to find it again. To apply the patch, regardless of which type you're using, you just use the glue that would come with a standard puncture repair kit. The same stuff, it works fine. So we apply that to the punctured area, and as ever, same instructions. You just allow it for 2 minutes to go tacky, at which point, I've set a timer on my phone, at which point then we'll apply the patch. So after a couple of minutes, put the patch on and then just hold it really firmly in place. Make sure there's no air underneath it. And then after a while, you take your fingers off and you peel off the plastic backing, and then should be good to go. And then I'll just show you what it's like when you glue a latex patch on. Something I find a bit easier is if you actually apply the rubber glue solution to the patch itself, because that way you get the right amount on. It can be a bit harder to gauge the exact amount and the total area to put the glue on when you're doing it on the actual tube, and then the patch has to cover it. So yeah, if you just put it on the patch, a bit easier. Leave it the same sort of couple of minutes. When it starts to get tacky, then apply the patch like so, and then hold it down and just keep pressure on it for a few minutes, and then you're good to go. So there you have it, a repaired latex tube. If you want to check if your repair is actually airtight, which is a good, sensible thing to do, again, just pop it in some water and see if any little bubbles are popping out of it, and that way you'll know. This isn't the neatest looking repair, but it does the job. It is airtight and means I can put this back in my time trial bike and I'm good to go again and go as fast as possible with the lowest rolling resistance. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you have and it saved you some money, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you, bye.